Welcome, welcome, welcome. I've said that like 3 times. Thankfully, the audience can't hear that. All right, to everyone tuning in right now, whether you are watching from your living room, on your cell phone while you're on the bus, or gathering folks in your community, we are so glad you're here. I'm Karen Finney. Okay, I can't hear David. That's a problem.
That's why we're going to pray for the spirit of baby face around these parts. I am Dr. David Johns, and this is the Signal Live.
Oh, Lord, y'all bear with us. This is the first show, and look, you are about to experience a different kind of show. It's going to be real, I'll tell you that. It's not corporate media, because we're not interested in that sort of both sidesism, sanitized conversation that's generally been created by people who think they know better than us what news really is and what a good conversation looks and sounds like.
No, ma'am. This is the State of the People TV. We're the digital arm of a movement called State of the People. This is a people-powered platform built by us, for us. A place where Black voices aren't just included, they are centered.
That's right. So we're going to be tuning into the pulse of the people, and each week you're going to see a different set of anchors and hear from different voices bringing you ideas and inspiration from across our movement. And we also really want to hear from you. This is a co-creation. So throughout the show, just know we're going to be monitoring the chat, and you can email us at SOTPTV, that's a mouthful, SOTPTV at stateoftheppl.com with ideas for topics that you want to hear about. Because here's what we know. An informed people is an unstoppable people.
And we're here not to just tell you what's happening. We're here to break down why it's happening, who it's affecting, and most importantly, what we will do about it.
That's right. All right, now we're going to tell you a little bit about us. So I've served over 3 decades in politics and communications and media. I'm an opinion journalist, and I've worked on presidential campaigns with candidates and nonprofit organizations. My focus has always been to how do we bring our people and our voices into the rooms where decisions get made, and to call out the BS when I see it.
That's right. Karen is that girl. And I'm an educator, an advocate, and someone who's dedicated my life to fighting for equity and justice, particularly for all Black people in our beautiful diversity. I've worked for the Obama administration, on Capitol Hill, and I lead the National Black Justice Collective. And through that, I've learned that real change doesn't come from the top down. It comes from us organizing, mobilizing, and demanding better.
That's right. We are so honored that you're here with us. And together, we're going to ask tough questions. We're going to hold people accountable, and we're going to look for real actionable solutions.
So whether you're a seasoned organizer or someone who's just waking up to what's possible, this show is for you. So let's get into it.
And welcome to State of the People TV and the Signal Live.
That it came out of a collection of us who are in the media space and felt called to respond in an hour where we were like, okay, this man is about to deliver a joint address to Congress. Yeah. And we don't want to watch that. We don't want to tune into that. We don't feel represented in mainstream media. So we want to develop a space where people can come and hear the truth about what is about to be said and what is already happening and what is likely to come. So we did a 24-hour marathon.
Yes, we did.
Then we pulled off in 36 hours. And what we decided from there was, in response to the people who said, okay, what are we doing next?
Yeah.
We were like, we don't know. But sometimes God calls, and he calls you through his children.
Come on.
Right? And so we answered the call. We said, okay, well, we're going to come meet you in community.
Yeah.
That feels good to us too.
Yeah.
And stay true to that. In every single State of the People Power Tour stop, I feel like we who came to serve got so much more out of it than the people did.
Absolutely.
And so we We focused on providing relief. When you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we're starting with the bottom, which is food, water, shelter.
Yes.
And I thank God that when we come together, we can co-regulate. We know that we lead with peace, that we lead with power, and we lead with progress.
And we lead with progress. We're not just talking about it.
Yeah.
We're not just talking about it. We're trying to be about it.
You just heard from our good siblings, Angela Rye and Brittany Packnett Cunningham, telling the story exactly of how the State of the People came to be. State of the People is a movement with us in mind, responding to a moment maybe that we didn't predict, but we owe it to each other to survive.
You know, this moment is also rooted in love for our people, honoring those that have led the way and uniting together to take responsibility for our future. The State of the People Power Tour actually took us to 13 cities across the country. We centered healing, relief, power building, and we built a community and a network that was rooted in the spirit of the ancestors and the idea of unity without uniformity. So let's take a look.
In the South, the air carries more than just heat. It carries memory, movement, meaning. In Atlanta, the grind never stops. From the pulse of Peachtree to the promise of the West End, this city runs on ambition. Hustlers, dreamers, builders. In Raleigh, there's a quiet power, not loud, but loud enough to move policy, raise families, and hold fast to truth. It's in the classrooms, the code, the craft. In Birmingham, you feel the weight and the rise, still and soul, scarred streets and sacred stories. Here, resistance was born in church pews and street marches, and now it's carried in every step forward. And in New Orleans, the people don't just live, they live out loud. This is a city that knows how to make joy out of ruin and flavor out of fire. This is the State of the People Tour. We are history.
Every time I see that, I feel it. I feel the people that we met along the way, the love, the power, the purpose.
Absolutely. And you know what? We can talk about this all day, but we wanted to bring in someone who was on the ground during that power tour, someone who understands what it took to pull that off and why it mattered so deeply.
So joining us now is a bad sister, Dewana Thompson. She's a political strategist. She's an organizer extraordinaire. She's brilliant. She's the founder of Woke Vote and currently the president and CEO of the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. She was so instrumental in some of the most important organizing wins that we've actually seen in recent years. And she was instrumental and right there with us on every step of the Power Tour. Dewana, welcome to the Signal Live.
Thank you, family. How y'all doing?
We are so excited to have you, sibling. You've seen the movement building from every single angle. Given all that you've done, what made the State of the People Power Tour unique?
I think that mostly for me, it was that we made a decision that we were going to be in radical collaboration with each other, that we were going to take advantage of a moment where we could have literally just said, I don't know what's going on. I've never seen this before. Everyone's asking questions. Everybody doesn't quite know exactly what is going to be sort of the silver bullet that we need right now. And we decided instead to organize ourselves within ourselves, come to each other, be in proximity with each other, and say, actually, what is it that you need right now? And who's already doing the work? How can we undergird you while we figure out the long-term strategy? And I think that was what was so powerful about the tour, was that when we showed up, we weren't saying, here's what you need to do. We were saying, what are you already doing? How do we support that work? And what about this work do we believe is critical for the next part of liberating ourselves? And how do we undergird that?
Say that. Look, I want to make sure people understand that this wasn't just a party, because we did have fun, let's be honest. but it was rooted in purpose, and that the impact that you're talking about was very real.
Yeah, I think there wasn't a way to talk about this as a party because it's not a party time, right? What we did was strategically center joy. And I think that was important because joy is always going to be a part of our resistance model around, it's always going to be a tactic of how we take care of ourselves. And so strategically including joy was really an affront to what we were feeling and what we're still currently sort of feeling right now, which is this constant sort of attack on our bodies, on our education, on our communities. And we're going to say, no, we're going to take a moment to shield ourselves and implement joy. But in that, we are going to be in these rooms talking about strategy. We're going to be figuring out, okay, where do we start? What do we have? Where do we need to go? What are the resources? We're going to power map in this moment, and we're going to center joy in that. So it certainly was a time for us to sort of, it felt ancestral in the sense of the idea that our forefathers and foremothers came together and, they came together in basements. They came together in back rooms. They came together in backyards during times of oppression and said, this is a safe space. So we created safe spaces rooted in joy, but really starting to ask the question of how do we support each other moving forward?
I very much appreciate you reminding us that the real AI is ancestral intelligence, and that in spite of the fact that we are owed joy, we also owe it to ourselves to ensure that our impact is both meaningful and measurable. We'll share some data to quantify our impact, but while we still have you, Dawana, is there a moment that you take with you or that you enjoy sharing when you talk about the tour and what it meant for us?
I think there were so many moments. Each city carries its own spirit, right? The dirt cries out differently in each city. And I think what for me, we went to one of my cities, the city of my birth, Birmingham, Alabama. And I just remember thinking to myself, this shouldn't have to be happening right now, but we're so situated for this moment because we are the beneficiary babies of people like Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth, people like Bishop Calvin Woods, people like Rosa Parks and Medgar Evers and Murray Evers. They've taught us, even if we weren't learning at the time, it's in us. It's planted in our food. It's in our soil, like I said. And so that was the thing that was so important to me, was that we honored where we come from, and we took strength from each one of those cities and what they've already done and what they continue to do. And that's what's lasting with me right now.
I love that. If we're able to, I want to make sure that people are aware of some of the impact of our work. This is what you're seeing now on screen. Understanding that our goals were, as have been shared, to make sure that we were showing up and providing mutual aid, to connect people to the leaders already doing this work in their community. And as you can see, we have receipts to talk about that, which we accomplished. So thank you to everyone who was a part of making the tour happen.
And Dawana, thank you so much for being with us and for the work that you are doing every single day. We see you, we appreciate you, we love you, and we are in this fight together.
Absolutely. Love you guys.
We love you so very much. Thank you for everything. And this is why State of the People TV is here, showing up for each other, letting you know that this movement is thinking about you, cares for you and your well-being, and that together we will build what is just for all of us to get closer to freedom.
That's so right, David. And, State of the People TV, we're so proud to be part of a rich history of independent Black journalism and to stand in this moment of independent Black media. We've got folks like Roland Martin, the OG. We got Don Lemon. We got Joy Reid. We got multiple streaming shows. We've got radio shows and podcasts from many of our State of the People family. And you can find so many of us and others on social media and places like Substack. So we hope you will keep an eye out, and we'll try to help point you in the direction of more of our truth tellers and soothsayers, if you will. Look, I'm happy to even tell you, this is so important, and I love this sister so much. The Root is back in Black hands, y'all. Our State of the People sister, Ashley Allison, and her company, Watering Hole Media, has just acquired them. Congratulations, Ashley.
That's leadership in action. Shout out to the Obama alum as well. A reminder that this is our work, our world, our way. Let's give the final word to the legendary Mignon Moore, who has spent decades working to help our people advance in politics and society. She's known as one of the nation's most influential strategists and thought leaders. And if you don't know, you will on the other side of this clip.
First of all, it was birthed out of love. It was birthed out of love for our people. And we saw trends going in the opposite direction for our people. And I think with the brilliance of Angela Rye, the brilliance of Karen Finney, the brilliance of David John and Vincent, and so many others that decided that this was an important time to fill in the gaps, to help our elected officials, to make sure we were empowering organizations on the ground, make sure we're empowering people to let them know that just because they see all of this drama coming out of Washington, we still care, we still love them, and we're going to connect you to resources, we're going to connect you to the community, and it gets us back centered in what we used to do, the community.
Oh, I love her so much. All right, y'all. It is time for a segment that we call Work Woke. This is a roundtable conversation that you're going to see every week, and we're going to be breaking down what's happening right now, why it matters, but most importantly, what we're going to do about it.
That's right. Knowledge without action is just trivia, and it's a Jeopardy. We're here to equip you with the tools, the resources, and the strategies that we need to protect ourselves, our families, and our community.
You know, it may not be Jeopardy, but we may be in jeopardy because the barrage of crises that are coming at us, see how I did that? Coming at us can feel never ending. You know, right now, our government here in Washington, D.C. is shut down. That's just the latest. And we're not going to be here to tell you who to vote for. That is your business. But I want to take a look at the facts, because Republicans who control both houses of Congress and the White House, they're pushing a budget bill. Let me tell you what this fight's about. The budget that they want to get passed includes a tax cut for the wealthiest few. It also includes $1 billion in cuts to Medicaid, one of our most vital healthcare programs in this country. It's also a fight about the fact that what Democrats are saying is, hey, we want to extend those healthcare tax credits that help people afford their healthcare. That affects over 20 million Americans who would otherwise see their healthcare costs double in about just a month. So look, we are hoping that Democrats will continue to say no healthcare, no vote. Unfortunately, this does not seem like it's going to end anytime soon.
Oh, Jesus, take the wheel. Shut down. Black women in particular are shut out. Systemic attacks on federal workers, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, and freedom generally have left more than 300,000 Black women unemployed in the last 6 months alone. That's a crisis for Black women, Black families, and Black futures.
So to help us break this all down and try to make some sense of this madness, we have an incredible panel with us today. We've got Judith Brown Diana. She is a civil rights attorney. She is an advocate. She's also executive director of the Advancement Project National Office, which is sort of a next-gen civil rights organization that is focused on racial justice and structural inequality.
Hey, Judith.
Hey, fam.
Hey, Fred, we love you. We're also joined by Rayshonda Elias, an entrepreneur, activist, digital activist, let me be precise, who uses her platform to amplify LGBTQIA+ rights and intersectional justice. We're also joined by my sister, Valisha Butterfield, former Chief Diversity and Inclusion Officer at Google, a powerhouse strategist, founder of Ween, and lover of all people Black.
And one of the baddest sisters out there, Karen Attiah. If you don't know her, you're about to learn something. She is a journalist, she is a columnist, and she's actually someone who is living through what we were just talking about. Karen was recently, love the name, by the way, was recently fired from the Washington Post after 11 years for speaking truth about political violence and racial double standards. So welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this first Signal Live.
Yay. We did it. We did it.
I know, love. Right, so as of midnight last night, let's get down to serious business. Just kidding. The federal government is shut down. And this has happened before. whenever Congress fails to pass a funding bill by a certain time in the year to keep the government running. But this shutdown feels like it could actually be a little different than every other one because of all the madness going on, and it may well be Trump's Trojan horse. Yeah. So the White House has been lying and blaming this shutdown on undocumented immigrants, which is just not true. Undocumented immigrants are not eligible for healthcare subsidies in the Affordable Care Act. So it's not true. Now, the Atlantic recently reported that the shutdown could be used by Trump to finish doging, if you will, and make this shutdown as an excuse to permanently fire government workers and to stop some federal funds long term. And we've seen that just today. Frankly, we've seen him, saying that he's going to target, looks like programs and funds that are going to blue cities and blue states, once again, dividing us. So Judith, I'm going to start with you because it does feel to many of us, look, the Republicans didn't even really want to negotiate this time. And I think they know they're not on solid ground. But there is a concern by some that this is really a ploy on the part of Trump to continue to consolidate and frankly abuse his power.
Right. Well, we know that what he has been doing since the beginning is dismantling the federal government. Yeah. Project 2025 called for getting rid of federal jobs. And so they've been doing that. This may be an excuse because he has said that he's going to do layoffs at the end of this or during the shutdown. But listen, we need Dems to fight for us. We need Republicans to fight for us because 15 million people are estimated to lose health care if we don't get those subsidies back through ACA and through Medicaid. And so this is very serious because, listen, if you've already cut the spending on all kinds of medical research, you've cut back all the money that's at CDC, you've now said that, we're not going to get vaccines any longer, all of the things that Robert Kennedy Jr. is doing, right? Then we know that our health is at risk. And so we need Dems to stand up for us in this minute and fight. And we know that the Republicans are saying we're not negotiating because they're being gangster. So they're going to have to pay the price eventually.
That's right.
And when that happens, we have to cue the words of the great Nobel laureate Kendrick Lamar and squabble up because we can't afford to lose this fight, especially considering all of the textbook ways that a government shutdown hurts everyday people and members of our beautifully diverse community the worst. We're talking about paychecks not getting cut. We're talking about subsidies for women and children not being provided. We're talking about passport processing delays. Y'all know y'all love to fly. I'm talking about TS workers showing up without pay if they show up at all. When I think about this, it makes me think about your work and your leadership, Rashonda. We're also watching this White House use the shutdown to further divide already oppressed or otherwise marginalized people. Just yesterday, the White House press secretary, if we can call her that, Caroline Leavitt, changed the outgoing message on their public line to blame undocumented people in the way that Karen mentioned in the lead into our conversation. Not only do we know that this is not true, or the technical term is it's a lie, we know that it's a division tactic. How do you explain what's happening here and or what's most important for members of our community to know?
Well, one of the things I always say is these people are dumb, right? I don't understand. I'm super serious, y'all. Some of the stuff that comes out of their mouths, we already know that is ridiculous. And to be at the helm, powering this country and stand behind the U.S. SEAL from which I served as a veteran, to hear him speak about and speak to us as if those people, the high-ranking members, have no clue of what they're doing. Meanwhile, neither one of them have seen any type of action and won't bust a grape in a fruit fight. I have said this since his first term. Trump is running this country like he is on, like he is Suge Knight on Death Row Records. This is absolutely ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. He is trying to strong arm this country, and we see how fast it is happening. For me, at first, I was like, there's no way. 250 years of democracy, albeit ridiculous. You know, we had to build these things, which I also have to explain to people what amendments are. It means it was added. It means it wasn't there before. And definitely when it comes to our marginalized community, the LGBTQIA community, being a Black woman, having that all wrapped up in one. When I walk into a room, I'm trying to explain to people, you have every right to be afraid, because not only is it dangerous, it's always dangerous in the hands of people that have no idea what they're doing, and they're going to allow it to happen, right? And he is trying not to leave this office. Nobody asked for a ballroom. No, as gay as I am, I never asked for a ballroom. And you know I love a ball gown.
I know you do. You slay a dress.
Right. It has nothing to do
That's right.
with what is happening in this country, and for it to be blamed on immigrants, for it to be blamed on our trans brothers and sisters, for it to be blamed on anything but what it is, which is a fascist regime trying to take over this country, right? And trying to push everybody out. There's no way that should have, not even a voicemail, just the note that they put on the HUD.gov website. For what? It is an out and out lie. You control every arm of this government, right? You're not willing to negotiate. The Dems cannot negotiate. We cannot back down on this. What other time do we have to stand our ground? Even though, yes, it will. If this continues as long as it did, like it did on his first term, you know, it will hurt a lot of people in our community. I don't know about you, but I know people can't miss one paycheck, let alone two, right? For you to make a point about what, and that is the thing. This is all under the guise of trying to show up the Dems or trying to serve. We don't have time for that. And if you don't put the people out front, the people will suffer.
Yeah.
What's the least of these? They can't be whipping out this word Christian and ain't whipped open a Bible except because he tried to sell. That's absolutely ridiculous.
It is, and to the point of putting people first, let's tap in our good sister, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, who was on the front lines like you. Thank you for your service, Rayshonda.
It's a beautiful thing to be surrounded by such a powerful coalition of Black women, justice seekers, table shakers, community builders, particularly at this critical inflection point for our nation. Each one of us standing before you today represents generations of Black women who came before us, who gave us life, spoke life into us, encouraged us, sacrificed for us, and we are here today to continue sounding the alarm about a crisis that is both economic and moral. The shameful push-out of Black women from the workforce and the dangerous consequences for this nation, for Black women, for Black families, and for Black futures. The numbers don't lie, and the numbers are damning. The latest job report shows that Black women's unemployment rate has jumped to 6.7%, when overall unemployment is at 4.3%. Since February, nearly 320,000 Black women have left the workforce. This is not a coincidence. This is the direct result of Donald Trump's mass federal firing frenzy and his relentless racist attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Please sign and share Congresswoman Pressley's petition demanding a plan to put Black women back to work. You can find that at stateoftheppl.com/TV. Now let's tap in our sister Valisha into this conversation. Among many of her other noteworthy accomplishments, Valisha, I'm thankful that you created the Global State of Women and its Collective Relief Fund for times such as this. Help us understand the state of emergency impacting Black women and girls, please.
Thank you, my brother. It's so good to see you. And hey, everybody. I just think it's truly time to sound the alarm. The numbers speak for themselves, and Representative Pressley did such a wonderful job representing the more than 318,000 of our sisters, Black women, who have been forced out of the workforce over the last 3 months and growing. And I think it's just, we've known this, right? Those of us in the community, each day we see in our group texts, in the chats, the next person, whose number was called. And so when we saw the numbers, to be honest, we weren't surprised. It was just reaffirming to know that there was now data to back up and support, what we already knew. And so when I think about the stories, right, like you hear the number 318,000 Black women who are out of work due to DEI elimination, due to the federal government shutdowns, and AI is also playing a tremendous role in the replacement of jobs. But Katika Roy, I should say, is the gender economist who broke the first time the number of 318. But when you start to hear the stories, and so we launched the Global State of Women Emergency Relief Fund, and in 48 hours, David and ladies, we received more than 40,000 applicants.
Wow.
Of the 40,000 applicants, 97% are Black women. And these stories are heartbreaking. We're talking about women with PhDs, master's degrees, medical degrees who got a call one day or stepped into the office and told them that it was their last day. And they had been on the job, many of them for 10 years, 20 years, and had no idea this was coming, and are now trying to make ends meet. And so this is a coordinated attack. Like, let's be very clear. And this is being done with intention and precision. And so when you see the numbers that Representative Presley said of 6.7% unemployment rate, we've never seen these numbers, I don't believe, since the pandemic, if not before. And it's not by coincidence. And so our emergency relief fund is just to provide, immediate direct relief to women who are experiencing the unemployment crisis. We're giving out grants one time in the amount of $500 to $1,500 to women who are under distress, who have, unexpectedly lost their jobs, and who have been unable to find employment and re-enter the workforce. And so just thank you for this platform, but most importantly, we've got to fight. And I think that, the money is just a Band-Aid. We're going to do our best to provide relief and give women, a breath right now. But, women are looking for opportunities. We're looking for jobs. We're looking for access, not handouts, but really just an entry point back into the workforce so that we can do what we were already trained to do.
Thank you for your labor.
Thank you so much. What's so important about what we're talking about here, right? We're talking about our economic power being diminished in the workforce, but also part of what happens, it was happening, our voices are being diminished, and some are being punished for utilizing those voices. And I'm talking about our dear friend, Karen. And by the way, I love the name. We're reclaiming it from white women. I'm sorry. I just can't anymore. So look, you were the last full-time Black opinion columnist at the Washington Post. And in the course of literally doing your job and exercising your First Amendment right to freedom of speech and the press, by the way, you wrote about political violence and racial double standards, but then you were fired for telling the truth. Will you tell our audience about what happened?
Sure. Thanks so much for having me. Gosh, I feel like putting what happened to me in the context of the 300,000 plus Black women, hopefully, at least for the audience, gives a face, at least for tonight, of what so many Black women, I think, are going through. Yeah, in the aftermath of the Charlie Kirk assassination, my job as a columnist, as an opinion journalist, is to state facts, is to exercise restraint, right? And is to exercise, balance. And so I think for a lot of us, again, remembering that day, it wasn't just Charlie Kirk that was shot. There were children in Colorado who were also shot. Yeah. This is in the aftermath of the CDC building in Atlanta being shot up more than 400, 500 times, and a Black police officer losing his life. This is the aftermath as well in the shooting or assassination deaths of Melissa Hortman, a Minnesota lawmaker, in June. She was killed. Her husband was killed. Her dog was killed. And all of these shooters ended up being white men, right? And I was just lamenting the state of America, the empty rhetoric of this is not who we are, and political violence has no place here. It shouldn't have a place here. I condemned, of course, the violence, but it does. And part of what I said on Bluesky that keeps America so violent is the performance of empty goodness, of care, of absolution for white men who espouse hatred and violence. That is just a fact. That is backed up by media reports, analysis. That is backed up by the DOJ, by the FBI, in terms of the demographic that commits the most like mass shootings. Right. So to me, that's just facts. That was just jobs. And I also said that I was refusing to overly perform mourning for a man, Charlie Kirk, that routinely denigrated Black women, that put Black professors on watch lists, that said the Civil Rights Act was a mistake. I called George Floyd scum. I was like, I refuse to tear my clothes and smear ashes on my face in performative mourning for this man, and refusing to do so is not the same as violence. All these are facts. Went about my day. The next day, 12 hours later, I get an email from the Washington Post, notice of termination, accused of gross misconduct, and saying that my posts referencing white men was disparaging, and that I posed a risk to the post, and then I put the physical safety of my colleagues in danger, all for saying that as a Black woman, I wasn't going to strip down in mourning for a violent white man. I mean, what's the opposite of that? That I should have told everyone that I would literally tear my clothes off in the streets for this man. I mean, so I was just doing my job, and I lost my job for that. And I think there's a bigger picture to this. And this is coming on the back end. Yes, I was the last full-time Black opinion writer at the Washington Post. And it's not a coincidence to me that as Washington, D.C. is literally being occupied by the National Guard, as the Supreme Court in our backyard has said, basically it's okay to racially profile, that they have taken out the line of opinion journalists, a line of defense, because we are the ones who have the power to just go beyond the who, what, when, where, why. We're able to say, this is wrong. This is hurting our communities. We're the ones who are able to give the warning sign, because what happens to our communities always comes back to everyone else, right? So that has been systematically decimated. I, have announced that I plan to challenge this in every way that I can. And it's not just about me. It's also about the Black journalists who remain at the Washington Post. We are in a systematic sort of purging of Black journalists writ large in mainstream media. Pew Research Center just came out saying we are Black people represent 12% of the population, but now we're only at about 6% of the working journalists in this country, whereas white journalists represent about 76% of the journalists who are working, even though they're 60% of the population. So we have an overrepresentation and underrepresentation. Well, I won't even say problem. We have a purge. What can I say? This is a systematic purge of our voices, of when we need to not only be on the front lines, but documenting history. Yeah. We purge from the papers of record. And I mean, I've said I'm not going to remain silent. Obviously, I'm still going to write, and I'm still going to move around these obstacles. But yeah, it's devastating what this represents for Black journalists, for Black women journalists, and we were already very underrepresented in opinion journalism, which I've always said was by design. So yeah, it's a really scary time, and as mentioned before, this is deliberate and it's strategic, I believe.
Devastating. Words matter, and I appreciate you naming it for what it is. And I know it will not compensate for what you're experiencing. You or any Black woman in the space. As a Black man, I just want to say thank you for each of you for granting us everything beautiful in the world. And I'm sorry. Karen, I know you have another question for Judy.
Yeah. So Judith, we're talking about this shut out of Black women, this Black women being shut out, Black men too, and that it's not accidental. It's something that Karen mentioned, and she is right. So let's go to sort of legal and policy tactics and tools. What can we be doing to fight back against these cuts and to fight these kind of moves?
Yeah, well, I think first, Sue, right? We need to continue to bring litigation. I know some federal workers led by Black women have stepped out there to sue the Trump administration. And I know sometimes those cases are not being successful, but we can't stop fighting, right? We have to continue to fight in the courts. The other thing that we need to be doing is policy-wise, I mean, at the state level, like I want to thank my governor, Wes Moore, who has stepped up to make sure that Maryland has things in place during this shutdown for people. Like they have a loan program with no interest for $700 if you need assistance, emergency assistance, but also employment programs. So we have to be pushing. This is the thing. When they went to dismantle the federal government, then we've got to look to our states to protect us. And so we've got to be ready to step in and push our state officials, et cetera, to work for us, right? And at the same time, to push on Congress on all of these things. You know, I don't care if you are represented by a Republican or not. You need to be swarming their offices. Showing up in Washington, D.C. in their office does mean something. And they need to understand the pain, and we need to be telling the stories so that people understand that Black people are feeling the brunt of this. The cuts to DEI programs, the cuts to federal jobs here in the Washington, D.C. area, the federal government has been a stabilizer. It has been the thing that has gotten a lot of Black people into the middle class, right? Because those jobs are good paying jobs. When I first came to DC, I remember I'd go to a club, meet a man, he'd be like, I'm a GS-15. And then you give me another, I'm a GS-17. You'd be like, oh, that must be better than GS-15. So look, that's how it worked, right? And it was stability for our families. And now that's falling out. So the last thing I just want to say is that we have to also support mutual aid within our communities, because our people are suffering, and really the only people who are going to save us is us.
Period, which is in part why I'm so thankful for the work of each of you. Thank you for defending us. Thank you all so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. You can apply for Velicia's Global State of Women Relief Fund at globalstateofwomen.com or via the resource page at stateoftheppl.com/TV. To our sisters, more resources for support are available at that same website. And Karen, we see you, love you, and appreciate you. Your voice will not be silenced. Thank you for your courage. Coming up, an exclusive interview with Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. And finally, some straight answers on vaccines, Tylenol, and so much more. Stay with us, y'all. Y'all watching it get made. Yes, that's our first TV. So
David, we're back.
We are. Come on. And this week we are taking you inside the largest gathering of Black political leadership in the country. The Congressional Black Caucus Foundation's annual legislative conference, also known as CBC Week, in DC. We're talking about legislators, thought leaders, activists, students, organizers, all in one place for 4 days. This year's theme was Made for This Moment: Power, Policy, and Progress. At night, plenty of parties bring Black joy to the forefront. But if you think all that happened this year was partying, you'd be wrong. There were over 100 workshops and panels covering everything from healthcare and education to economic empowerment and social justice, and a brand new partnership that featured the State of the People, shifting this conference from the halls of power to the halls of power in Congress or on the Hill to the power of the people in the streets.
That's right. In the spirit of State of the People Power Tour, the State of the People hosted Stronger Together DC Community Day to kick off this year's conference and really meet our people and our needs where we are. And we bumped into some of our faves throughout the week. Take a look.
In the South, the air carries more than just heat. It carries memory.
What's up, y'all? It is Kyle on the mic here at Ward A Sycamore Oaks with DTLR and Stay of the People for their amazing community stop happening right here now. I'm here because, listen, we have some dope stuff to give away. We have 125 pair of shoes and 50 gift cards to give to community out here to show some love and support. So, you know what? Follow me. I'll take you inside.
They kind of baby Coco. You know how to drop me, everything slow. You know how to drop me, anything go. Remember back when I got the snow low and I was in the United States just like Romo. Not for them boys, no homo.
All right, you see we're here. The line is already filling up. Hey, Jermaine, let me see the shoe. Well, he walking right now, but you already know we vibing out here. The music's up. We having a good time, man. Let's get it. Come on. And shout out to State of People, Angela Reid, DTLR. I'm Kyle Mike. I'm out.
Power looks like.
I could have just gone and taken a check with some other news organization. He could have gone. He could have some sort of DIY show where he's flipping houses. He could do anything he wanted to, but he has chosen to be a voice for the people.
Or I could have sat on my ass.
You could have, yes. No, that's the difference between me and Don. I don't have sit on my ass money. I got get up off your ass and get to work money. So that, but again, that's a big deal.
This is the last thing that I will say. I love you. You all right. Your wife is amazing. And don't get arrested in Starbucks anymore.
All right. Thank you.
Don Lemon, everybody.
Don
Thanks for stopping through, bro. That's what's up.
Love you guys.
All right. State of the People, man. We got people popping in here. Kamau Bell, you're a magnet.
I see, though, me and Don, we go back a little bit now.
Yeah.
And it's funny to think where life takes you that somehow me and Don Lemon will be forever connected. And when I got to CNN, I was like, I don't know about that Don Lemon. But now I know about that Don Lemon.
Yeah, well, and it does give us an opportunity, like these moments, to find out things about yourself and people that you may not have known before. I mean, we talked a little bit about what happened with the Kennedy Center, but you go across the country, similar to what State of the People is doing, trying to kind of raise people's consciousness about the moment, about courage, about sacrifice. Talk a bit about your tour, only because I've been to a couple of them.
Yeah, you opened a couple of them.
I did a little something. But sitting through your tour with a room full of non-melanated.
He's about to get into it, but you got to stay with us to get the rest. Know in this moment that this is what power looks like and what happens when we organize and show up and show out.
That's right. And like we said, a lot of people came through. And this year at ALC, State of the People family, some of our very own beloved, was awarded the Congressional Black Caucus's highest honors alongside Vice President Kamala Harris. Let's hear a bit from Win with Black Women's founder, Joteka Edie, and our very own, the Chief of Black America, Angela Reid. Let's hear a little bit of their acceptance speeches from the Phoenix Awards night.
I do not accept this award for myself, but I accept it on behalf of the Sisters of Win with Black Women, and on behalf of the 44,000 and the additional 100,000 allies who came together and answered the call and helped shift this nation. I accept this on behalf of the 92% of Black women who election after election hold the line for democracy and often do it without any recognition and sometimes even a thank you.
This award is not just for me. It belongs to every ancestor who refused to quit, every elder who told the truth, and every young person daring to dream beyond the failures of what America has promised. It belongs to my mom and dad, Dr. Andrea Reid and Eddie Reid Jr., to the members of the Congressional Black Caucus, and to every Black staffer who knows your duty to also serve as the conscience of the Congress. It is for the first responders of the movement, the State of the People, and every partner. It is for every person we fed, hugged, bailed out, heard out, who felt left out.
You know, we also had the exclusive honor of hearing from one of the most powerful truth tellers in Congress. Now, this is a Texan who's been fighting for our communities from the State House all the way to the Capitol Hill at the U.S. Congress.
Y'all already know who we're talking about. She's a civil rights attorney, a former public defender, and she is not afraid to speak full truth to power. Digital activist and State of the People family member Elizabeth Booker Houston, you know her as @Booker² online, sat down with the warrior of the moment.
Oh, represent.
I want to talk about this Free Speech Act of 2025 that you have introduced because of the insane things that Brendan Carr at the FCC has said. Tell us more about that.
So long story short, I mean, anybody that's got any common sense, and I mean just literal common sense, we're not talking about degrees or any specific level of education, can see the level of corruption that is being wielded out of this administration, but now this direct kind of targeted attacks that we see by the attack dog known as Brendan Carr at the FCC to go after anyone who wants to speak truth to power about this rogue president and use his ability as the FCC chair to basically make organizations that are interested in mergers or just interested in staying on the air fearful by waging threats that are counter to the First Amendment of the Constitution, which is all about free speech, but it's also about like freedom of press. This president has specifically engaged in targeted attacks, but we also know that at his direction, he has people like Brendan Carr. So basically, we're just asking them to kind of just follow the law.
Because aren't they the free speech party?
Well, they definitely were the ones that had their little feelings hurt when they felt like there was a lot of quote unquote cancel culture that was going on. People want to say it's the same as cancel culture. No, it's not. It's absolutely not. Because when people decide, say, to cancel Target, as we as Black people have decided to do, that is because we decided that we would not spend our dollars there. And we know that Target has lost a lot of profits, right? But whether or not Target stays open, that isn't the federal government coming in and saying you've got to shut down because we don't like that y'all are selling Black hair products or pride flags or whatever. There is a difference. I'm tired of kind of hearing this debate of, well, the left did cancel culture, so this is kind of just the response. Nope, it's a little different, right? If you want to say not tune in to the Jimmy Kimmel show because you don't like the jokes that he tells, then don't tune in. I just want people to understand the nuance. Not that I really look at it as a nuance, but like when people come at you and be like, hey, y'all did the same thing. We didn't. When it came to Colin Kaepernick, people did not engage enough. And when I say people, Black people understood that it was wrong what they were doing because basically you had a president at that time, the same one we're dealing with now, that decided that they did not like his way of protesting, which was constitutionally protected. They leaned in on the NFL to make sure that he would go away for doing what was constitutionally protected. Now everybody can see it now that Kimmel is the face of it. But the reality is that this started with this man a long time ago, and no one really decided to jump in to stop him then, except for basically other Black people.
That brings me to my next question for you, which is how Black congressional power is going to be important in this moment, and what do you see as the future and the current, I guess, call to action when it comes to what yourself and other Black members of Congress are doing?
This is a tough question. If anybody, listen, I can't speak for nobody else. I'm gonna speak for myself. I just can't. I can tell you that I don't feel like we're meeting the moment. I can tell you that when I think about the civil rights movement and all that was accomplished, you know, just imagine with me for a second, not ever having seen a Black woman or a Black person ever being elected to the Senate or the House or even the White House. Like never even being able to conceptualize that that is a possibility, but believing in your heart that there had to be a way to make sure that Black people also had a seat at the table to the extent that you risked your lives not knowing what would happen. Right. And some people lost their lives. That's how I got here. And I get that, right? Like I carry that with me every single day. And I feel like it is my responsibility to honor their deaths and their sacrifices along the way, because they believed that there could be a Jasmine Crockett, even though they had never seen a Jasmine Crockett at that time. They just had that
faith and that drive
to
get there.
They did. And now I'm like, man, we've seen so much. So like, you know, I'm ready to go to the moon with it, right? Like I'm ready to push it to the limit, like mash the gas. I don't believe that our best version of America means that you drag me and my people back to a point in which there is this idea of inferiority. I can tell you that this sense of urgency that I have on me, I don't know if it is shared universally, because I don't know how many people really look at this and believe that it's as existential as I do. And most people don't know that I really am my hardest critic. So like when the haters come and say whatever, I'm like, child, I done already like beat myself down 50 times over to make sure that I'm gonna be even better. Like next time, I don't feel like we are leading in a way that can make people feel the level of optimism or hope that they need in these very dark times. But I'm here to tell you that I am going to continue to beat up on myself and my colleagues to hopefully get us to do better.
All right. If you want to see the entire conversation between Elizabeth and Congresswoman Crockett, you can go over to State of the PPL for more exclusive footage. Okay, we are going to shift gears right now, you know, because we need you to know that there is a new hazard to your health. And we want to tell you about it so that you can keep yourself and your family and friends safe and healthy.
Period, because that's what matters. From the gutting of the CDC and the FDA to spreading vaccine misinformation, this administration is making decisions that are literally hazardous to our health. And Karen, you know, our folks are going to feel it first and worst.
Amen. So that's why we brought in the doctors, the experts. Remember experts, David? Remember those? Tonight, we have two gentlemen who actually know what they're talking about. Because while the folks in the administration seem to be making policy based on their feelings, we need facts.
Period. We do. Joining us today are two phenomenal physicians leading the fight for health equity. First, we have Dr. Chris Purnell, author, one of my favorite people, director of the NAACP Center for Health Equity, and Dr. Roger Mitchell, the 126th president of the National Medical Association and the president of Howard University Hospital. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you so much. All right, so I want to start with what's happening right now. Thousands, as David, as we mentioned in the opening, CDC, FDA, and NIH workers have been fired or being furloughed. Let's be honest, they've been fired at too, and entire departments have been eliminated. You know, Dr. Mitchell, I wonder if you could talk about what this means for Black public health.
Well, it's good to be here, and it's good to see you, Dr. Johns and Karen. Dr. Chris, well, we have to take this moment very seriously. You know, what's happening right now in our country, we're finding that we have a group of people in federal government that are out of jobs because of the conversation and the debate that is currently not happening surrounding the healthcare of people in this country. When we're talking about this tax credit that is at the center of what we're looking at, we're talking about a tax credit that allows individuals that are low and middle income to be able to afford their healthcare. So when we can't afford our healthcare, then we choose not to engage in healthcare practice. And that's primary care practice, preventative healthcare. And when you don't have access or not engaging in preventative healthcare, then you find yourself in a position where you are waiting for that disease, and that disease will tend to get worse. And now you have to engage life-saving healthcare. So the issue that we're dealing with is extremely important for the public to understand that not just Black people are at risk, but everyone's at risk if we're not centering healthcare as a human right.
It's such an important point, and I feel like we keep coming back to it. I don't know why it does not get through people's thick skulls here. I want to talk about, you were talking about, people getting sicker. Let's talk about something that is causing a lot of confusion right now, but also people are still getting sick from, and that's COVID. My own mother, she's 82, actually, as you know, Dr. Mitchell, was just in the hospital about 2 weeks ago. She was there for 10 days and now has pneumonia. She's going to be okay. But, I think it's important that we remind people these are still problems that we are facing. And now we've got all this crazy mis and disinformation about vaccines. So I wonder if, Dr. Purnell, can you just clear it up for us? Let's just make it real clear. Who can get a COVID vaccine right now?
So unfortunately, because of the lies, the misinformation, and the disinformation, those who previously could get a COVID vaccine either under the public health emergency or in the recent years are no longer eligible. For instance, we have children of various ages, whether 6 months all the way up through their primary years, who have been turned away at their local pharmacies. I had a woman in community who attends my church who reached out to me and said, what do? I want to vaccinate my nearly 11-month-old baby, and her pediatrician's office doesn't even have it. And that's why you have certain states taking executive actions to sign executive orders to ensure that these vaccines will be available. When the FDA and when the CDC don't do the job that they have been designed to do, people lose their lives or people are severely impaired. And that's what we're finding right now. But thankfully, there are those in public health, like the Northeast Public Health Collaborative and others that are happening out west, that are just standing up and saying, look, you can't listen to the federal government right now. Listen to your primary physician or provider. Listen to the National Medical Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics. Go to reputable sites and publications to hear the hard, cold truth. Otherwise, people will continue to die. And I just want to add one other thing that Dr. Mitchell was just talking about with these ACA tax credits. Yes, we're talking about people losing access to health insurance, but I want to connect the dots. When people don't have the ticket, people get sicker. And if people get sicker, they're more likely to die from something that is treatable, avoidable, or manageable. It's estimated that we could see 8,000 plus lives lost due to expiring ACA tax credits. Time for waiting is over.
Period. We're talking about ways to save lives. So appreciate both of you. And I want to distill a couple of core points. How to get a COVID vaccine. Call your doctor first. Check with your pharmacy second. Mention any health conditions you may have that can help you access what you need. Ask about insurance coverage and whatever resources might exist that insurance might not cover. And don't wait. Ask for what you need before you need it. We want you to be here and healthy.
So we've talked about COVID. Let's take on another one. Let's talk about acetaminophen, paracetamol if you're nasty, or Tylenol. So
you properly pronounced the word, unlike some of these folks who should. Yeah.
All right. So the administration, I just love watching men white-splain, male-splain, women-splain. Claim that Tylenol, also acetaminophen, during pregnancy causes autism. So Dr. Purnell, I'm coming to you again. Is Tylenol safe during pregnancy?
Listen, what the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology has always recommended is that for pregnant people, if you have a fever, if you're experiencing pain or inflammation that cannot otherwise be controlled through conservative methods, there are safe levels of acetaminophen, right? You want to take the lowest dose for the briefest amount of time. That advice still holds true. Just flat out misinformation and disinformation is now disrupting birthing people's access to what might be actually a life-saving intervention. You don't want a pregnant person, if they have a fever, to go unaddressed. You don't want a pregnant person, if they're having some type of pain or discomfort, to go unaddressed. And unfortunately, we have not just a skeptic that's leading HHS, we have a heretic in RFK, and he needs to be resoundingly dismissed and fired. And we have a current administration that believes in anti-science, foments anti-intellectualism, and those of us who know better have to speak up, speak clearly, and speak loudly so that we can protect those who are vulnerable, marginalized, or otherwise disenfranchised.
I appreciate you, Dr. Mitchell. Last question goes to you. What's the most important thing that you need every member of our community to know as it relates to our health and well-being?
Well, I think Dr. Chris said it well. You know, we need to take control over our health information and the information that we consume, and making sure that we're engaging in connection with our trusted sources of that information. This is our lives. One of the things that I tell my physicians at the National Medical Association is that we control how we deliver healthcare. And just because the federal government has made decisions that there is an appetite or an aptitude for the death of marginalized individuals, that doesn't mean that we should accept that. We need to step in and ensure that our community has access to care. And so our community needs to know that they have access to care, and make sure that they're connecting with their physicians and making decisions with their physicians about the care that is required. You should also know your status. You should know what your health insurance status is, especially with Medicaid being rolled back. In the District of Columbia, there are 25,000 individuals that are being moved off of Medicaid into the basic health plan. That basic health plan covers some things, but what people don't know, that basic health plan does not cover vision, it does not cover dentistry, and it doesn't cover non-acute transportation, non-life-saving transportation. I don't know about you, but there's many in my community that need that transportation voucher to get to and from their primary care appointments. And so you got to know your status. You got to make sure that you understand what's at risk. And our job is to make sure that we educate and go into communities, state by state, city by city, to make sure that our community understands what's truly, truly at stake.
I'm thankful for both of you and the life-saving, literally life-saving work that you do for so many, including so many members of our community. It's clear two things. One, that they are choosing chaos, and that we have the capacity to care for each other in community. Thank you so much for this absolutely essential information for all of us. It could literally be the difference for someone watching. Family, make sure that you take note of the resources shared this evening and those that will be available at our website after the show. Again, it's stateoftheppl.com, or you can tap into the QR code that you will see on your screen. Thank you both, good doctors. Continue saving lives. We love you in the process.
Good night.
Well, there you have it, good folks. Living Black History. This is our very first episode of Signal Live.
And what a moment to be launching this show. What an amazing set of conversations we've been able to have. We hope you enjoy it. I think David and I did so much great information. Go to stateoftheppl.com for anything you may have missed. It's about the fights we're facing, health information, getting you the information you need to protect yourselves and your families.
But here's what I want us all to remember. The Signal Live isn't just here to tell you what's happening. We are here to make sure that you're equipped, empowered, and ready to act.
Because that's what the show is all about. And it's what State of the People TV is about. We are building a movement, and you are the most important part of it.
Every week, we're going to be right here breaking down the news, bringing you the voices that matter, and making sure that you have the tools and resources to fight back and build toward our future.
So bookmark stateoftheppl.com. Also in your calendar, mark 9 p.m. Thursdays if you want to watch live. You can follow us on social, send in your questions, share the show with your family, your friends, anybody you meet on the street. Why not? Your organizing groups. The more people who are tuned in to the pulse of the people, the stronger we are.
Before we go, we want to leave you with a little something, something. In times like this, we need more than just information. We also need inspiration. See what I did there? We need a word that reminds us who we are and what we are fighting for.
Yes, and I'm just real quick. Thank you to our folks behind the scenes. You can't see them, but they have been keeping this show live and on fire all night. Now, there is no one better to give us that word than the Bishop Leah Daughtry. She is an organizer. She is a strategist. She is a minister. She is auntie to so many of us and friend and sister. She's also co-founder of Power Rising. Here is the Bishop Leah Daughtry.
Here's Bishop Leah Daughtry with a word for y'all. We love you.
Before we part ways tonight, we want to leave you with something deeper than headlines, something that connects us to the strength that has carried our people through every storm. Each week, we'll close with a word, a moment to ground ourselves in the spiritual power that flows through our communities, the wisdom passed down through generations, and the collective strength that continues to move us forward. In a world that often seeks to destroy us, this is our time to remember. We are rooted in something greater than the news of the day. We are rooted in resilience, bound by love, and sustained by a spirit that no injustice can break. So let's take this moment together. Let's breathe and let's remember who we are and whose we are. Loving and gracious God, source of our power and our hope, we gather tonight as a people rooted in struggle and victory, united by generations of wisdom and a love that carries us still. In this sacred moment, we pause together, brothers, sisters, family, all, committed to justice, community, and the liberation of our spirits. We honor the ancestors who paved the way, who dreamed freedom when shackles held their bodies, who built movements in the face of adversity, who spoke truth to power so we could stand tall today. Through storms and setbacks, they showed us what it means to be resilient, to keep moving when the world tries to hold us back. Their legacy is the fire in our bones and the light that guides us through uncertainty. Tonight, as we breathe together, we remember the power of our unity. We ask for courage to speak out and stand firm in the face of injustice. God, pour your peace into our hearts and fill our spirits with the strength to lift each other up, to fight for what is right, and to keep hope alive. Remind us of the beauty and the brilliance within our community, the stories we carry, the dreams we nurture, and the activism that runs deep. Let us never forget who we are and whose we are. Bind us in love that defies oppression, in purpose that will not be silenced. As we rise to meet the day, may we walk boldly, speak truth, and shine unapologetically. This is our prayer, our promise, and our power. Amen. I'm Bishop Leah Daughtry, and that was a word.
Thank you.